I'm back. Alrighty. Um, Useless and suboptimal skills and feats. So they've rolled some of the skills together, like Pathfinder did, and they've also changed the way the feats are used. For example, track feat is gone. Track is now part of the survival skill. I think that makes sense, actually. If you want to give a boost to Rangers still, and I think they deserve that boost, I would just give them a bonus to survival flat out based on a level, like X number of levels, they get a plus something to their survival skill, and that would help to emphasize that they are good at surviving and tracking. Combat players take too long, and resolve combat is no fun when you're spending all of your time waiting for your turn. So they're using the aid another ability in the system that allows you to aid someone in combat the way you can aid someone doing a skill, and you can do it even though it's not your turn. So if it's Bob's turn and I'm sitting there, I can say, okay, I'm going to do this for Bob. And that's involving the people in the combat at every round. You're not just sitting there waiting for your turn. I think it's interesting. I would have to see it in play, and I haven't done that. But it's a nice idea, and I think it does create a more dynamic kind of a situation in combat. Grappling rules are a pain in the ass, and they have a solution. Quite frankly, Pathfinder did it a heck of a lot better in my book. Their solution is better than the standard 3.5, but it's not as good as Pathfinder's. Pathfinder nailed all the combat maneuvers so well. They just knocked it out of the park, and it's going to be really hard to come up with something that's as good, in my opinion. Attack of opportunities are confusing. They've changed how attack of opportunities are done. So basically, if you move 5 feet forward, you're not going to get an attack of opportunity against you. Period. If you move more than 5 feet past the enemy, then yes, you are going to have an attack of opportunity. I kind of see what they're talking about here. There are lots of things that trigger attack of opportunities. So a lot of these are confusing. It's difficult. You have to make references to books and things. So I think that this change that they made, and there's a couple of other things about it as well. I think this change is a good thing. Iterative attacks slow down combat, and they do, because especially at high-level fighters, you get 4 or 5 attacks that slows things down. Now, they have a mechanism for making them different, but I don't think it fundamentally makes it any simpler. Instead of going 20, 15, 10, 5, -1, +1, they do it with, it changes, it's -2 against 2 attacks at this level, and then it becomes -1 at higher levels. And I think it requires too much math. It's no better than the system that's in 3.5. A house rule I've seen online, I've never used it, but I'm going to someday, is that after you get your second attack, it's 5 below the first attack. So a fighter would have a 20 and a 15, but all attacks after that stay at the second level. So it would be 20, 15, 15, 15, 15. Simple, elegant, minimum of math. That's how I think it should be handled, and that's how I will be using it in the future. I don't think the method in here is any better. It's just different. Buffs are too hard to track, so they changed the way the buffs are handled in the system. Too many save or die effects. I'm not sure if I agree that there are too many save or die effects in the game, but there are some, and they've changed them, and I was not impressed or unimpressed by how they did it. They changed it. Magic items. Identifying magic items is too difficult and not fun, so they've changed that you just use your skills to identify an ability, if it's magic or not. It's okay by me. I don't have a problem with that. Spending XP on magic and craft an item is a pain, and it is. And I like what Pathfinder did. Get rid of the XP penalty. Let people make what they want. This game takes different tack, though. Not only do they get rid of the XP, they doesn't want the GM to give characters the ability to create any permanent magic items. They want the magic items to be kind of the first edition feel, where you find magic items, you quest for magic items, you do not make magic items. And I hate this idea. Why is it that somebody out there can crank magic items out like a Play-Doh set, And yet the player characters who are super powerful, demigods at higher levels, can't make their own. Get rid of the XP penalty. Allow player characters to make their own magic items. If you can't compensate for that, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be GMing. DMing. Creating stat blocks for NPTs takes too long. They have some suggestions on how to do that. Calculating XP, ELP, and things like that. Some stuff on solo and elite monsters, how to change them and make it a little better. And spell combinations that are kind of a pain, like the Scribe, Buff, Teleport, Trinity, which has caused so many problems for so many GMs out there. Now, one thing this game does is they use action points. Now, if you like action points, for example, from the Everon setting, then this is a product that you're going to be interested in, because action points are really important to this product. Okay? Because they want it to have a dynamic kind of a gameplay. And I don't have a problem with the concept, but what they do in here, they say they consider action points to be plot protection, which is the most friggin' bizarre thing I have ever heard of. To me, it sounds like the writers of this product think that the plot is something separate from the players and the GM. It's like the players are over here, and the GM's over here, and the plot's down here. And we have to protect this thing from the other two. So if we don't have action points, you know, if the GM can't just fudge the rolls of action points, if the players can't re-roll something or get a bonus because they don't have an action point, somehow this thing down here is going to get hurt. That's bizarre. The players and the GM are the warp and weft of the actual fabric of reality. If you don't have them working in concert, if your players and the GM are not working together, it unravels and the game collapses. It just becomes useless. The campaign ends. So I don't like action points. It's one more thing to track. I don't want to keep track of them as a GM. I don't want to keep track of them as a player. I have never liked them. I played one game where I had action points. I ended up needing them, and when it came time to use them, I completely forgot I had them. I didn't use them. I sat out the rest of the friggin' session doing nothing. Because I didn't remember they were sitting there. Because I don't like them. It's another thing I gotta track. I don't want to track it. So, not impressed with this mechanic in the least. Okay, part 2 ends here.